Okay, this was an implant abutment on tooth number 30 that was sent in by a dentist just to have me evaluate why exactly he got such a poor proposal. Now this is actually before it was split into an abutment, obviously, just the original biogeneric proposal, and it's pretty bad. And judging by just the anatomy, I can tell that he had his biogeneric turned off. So if we go to parameters, you can see that he has the posterior basic shape or on adult. So it's on a database type of proposal. But even if I turn that back to off and get a new proposal, you're going to see it's really not that great. It's still a pretty poor proposal, so we're going to have to figure out something to get it a little bit better. So if I rotate this, it's still, I could fix that. You could do biogeneric, or excuse me, a recalculation unadapted and probably get that fixed pretty decently. But it's going to take an unnecessary amount of work, and there's ways to go about this that are a little bit better. So the first thing that I did is I looked at display options to see where his gingiva was at, and I noticed he did not take a gingiva mask folder. So the next thing I'm going to do is turn the restoration transparent and look and see where the titanium base is, and just by judging where this tissue is up here, I can tell you that that tissue is well above the titanium base. So in these cases, you always want to take a gingiva mask. It's going to greatly make your proposals much better. So in the scenarios where this titanium base was a little bit higher and you wanted to do the click on the scan body head here without the gingiva mask, there are ways to get this proposal a little bit better. So if I go back to the model, and let's go ahead and look at what he did here. So I'm going to go to click on scan body head. Let's go ahead and reset that. He trimmed the area perfectly, and we'll go ahead and we'll click on the scan body head. From the other videos, you know the difference of using the gingiva mask and not using the gingiva mask. Here we really don't have an option because he didn't even take a gingiva mask folder. So we'll just click on the scan body head, and this is the margin that he got, and this is the one that he used. You can edit it, and if I do have to use it in this scenario, I certainly will. I'll bring up display options, I'll untrim the model, and this is, if you can visualize what your preparation on this molar on tooth number 30 would look like, it definitely would not look like this. So I would just go ahead and try to edit this to give me a bottom line that was more typical of what I might see on tooth number 30. Okay, so let's just try something like that. I'm going to define the restoration axis. You can see that implant is placed a little bit lingual here. So the long axis is that red dotted line, and so we went ahead and moved it so we get a little bit more in line. So maybe not quite that much. We'll go ahead and move that back, center it a little bit. So I'm looking at the long axes of these adjacent teeth. Let's just get that lined up to an ideal position, and let's go ahead and get another proposal and see how it looks. Okay, so just by doing that one simple step, we're a lot closer. Okay, so this still needs quite a bit of work. We're not quite there yet. I'll show you a different way to do it better, but compared to the first proposal, just by redrawing that margin to a little bit better area, it's going to help you out quite a bit. So now let's go ahead and do what I would probably do in this case. Excuse me, even though you did not take a gingiva mask, one of the things that we can do is I'll go back to the scan folder. Let's go ahead and look in the lower jaw. Okay, so I can see that you've got what looks like some tissue here. So let's go ahead and let's just add a folder. We'll add a gingiva mask lower, and let's just select all, and then just copy and paste all the images back into the gingiva mask folder. Okay, and I'll show you what this is going to do for us in just a second. So you can see right away it overlaid perfectly with the lower jaw because it's the same, and we'll go ahead and go to our model. Okay, so we're back in the model stage. The first step, of course, is going to be to trim, which we do in every case no matter what. And now we're going to click on the scan body head. Now notice I have the gingiva mask highlighted now because I transferred or copy and pasted all those images from the lower jaw to the gingiva mask. So when I double click on that, it's going to create a margin on the crest of that tissue, or close to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit this line to be right on the crest of the tissue. If you need to be, you can be a little bit maybe outside of it, which I'm going to do on this case, just to make sure that I'm outside of the confines of that titanium base. Okay, so that's roughly what it's going to look like. We'll go to define the restoration axis to make sure, again, we're happy with that. Move that a little bit to this direction. Okay, I like that. Now when we look at the parameters, now because we have that gingival mask folder, we have upper parameters and we have lower parameters. Actually we don't. I made a little bit of a mistake here, so let's go back. I'm glad I did that. So what happened here is I forgot to designate this as a multi-layer restoration. Okay, so now I don't have those two separate parameters. So I'm simply going to edit. We're going to do a single restoration, abutment, biogeneric, multi-layer, tooth number 30. Now what it did is it brought up a veneering structure. So now you always know you did this correctly if you have both the framework and the veneering structure. We're going to choose a set of Emacs, hit OK, and we'll go back to that design. And now all of a sudden we've got upper parameters and lower parameters. Now the upper parameters are whatever you typically do. I'm not going to set that for your upper crowns. The lower parameters are going to be for your abutment. Now these can be important in your proposal. So I'm going to have my shoulder width on a case like this down all the way to 500. I can change that later. I'm going to put a little bit of gingival pressure on there. Keep it at 0. We'll check our minimal thickness. Let's go ahead and move these down. Okay, I'm fine with that. Now let's take our proposal. Okay, so here is our initial proposal now. You can see it's a much more workable scenario, workable situation here that we can easily fix. You can easily fix this, no problem. I'll just go ahead and throw up the gingiva again so you can see, you know where the gingiva is at. That's the advantage of taking this. So the only time I will not do the gingiva mask folder is if that titanium base is actually above the level of the gingiva. Then it does me no good, but I'll probably still take it anyway just so I can see that. Now if I go ahead and split this, even if I don't do any work at all, which I would do some work on that proposal, you can see I've got a pretty nice split already right off the bat. Okay? So just by following those simple steps, you can take, without changing really anything, just doing some different changes on a couple steps, not changing anything on exactly your preps or your images or anything like that, you'll be able to get a very nice proposal in this situation.